Good evening, good evening, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. This is Tasha M Dyer. This is Tasha M Dyer, creator of the BYOB Cash Out Strategy. So as you log on here this evening, drop it in the chat. Let me know where you're calling in from. We are definitely here tonight. This is BYOB Basics. That's what tonight is all about. And immediately following this call, we have a talk with the finance doctor. So as you are logging on, let's see, who do we have? I have Douglasville, Minnesota, Tavares, Florida, Jacksonville, Miramar, good evening, Fishers, Akron, Ohio, good evening, State College, Pennsylvania, good evening, Cleveland, Baton Rouge, Cleveland, good evening, Toledo, Ohio, good evening, Cleveland, okay, I see you guys, Fort Washington, Maryland, Fort Worth, Texas, good evening, Covington, Columbia, Canada, Toronto, Canada. Good evening, Lakeland, Florida, Ohio, Milwaukee, Detroit, Titusville, Virginia, Akron, Chicago, Michigan, BYOB Worldwide. I want to welcome each and every, there you guys go. Keep dropping it in the chat. Claremont, Anderson, Chattanooga, Chicago. Now, tonight. There we go, the Bahamas. I see you, Nigeria. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. New York, you say, haha, New York is in the house too. Love it. BYOB Worldwide. Now, also, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to tell you right now, Las Vegas, good evening. Good to see you this evening. Chicago. Now, also, we have a special treat for you guys, right, as we get started here. We're live on Facebook as well. Hey, Toronto, Canada. We're live on Facebook. So go ahead and share it, share this. This is BYOB Worldwide. 1 million families financially educated and impacted. That's what this is tonight. 1 million families financially educated and impacted. And then also, ladies and gentlemen, affirmations. Drop your affirmations in the chat. I definitely want to make sure that you are dropping those affirmations in the chat. Why? Mindset is very important. We're about to do BYOB basics. We're about to understand the BYOB cash out. We are definitely going to talk about some of the things that transpired in the market today, this week, and also understand our tools, but we're going to drop this back down to the basics. So what are my affirmations? Mindset is so key. Mindset is so important. Now, what is the basics? We're talking about I am a BYOB master trader. I am the signal. All my trades in profit. I am 777. Now, what does that mean? What is that all about? Right? Mindset. Okay. Anything that you want to achieve, you know that you can. And so if you understand, I am a BYOB master trader. You are declaring and decreeing what it is that you want to manifest in your life. You are declaring and decreeing what that is that you're looking to manifest in your life. Okay. And so we want to make sure that we're always declaring and decreeing what we're looking to manifest. And then also, I am the signal. I am the signal. Understand that you have to make sure that you're walking in what you're looking for, right? We always talk about making sure that you understand how to navigate the market, how to take trades, right? This is what we're talking about. This is what we mean. And then also, ladies and gentlemen, I am a BYOB master trader. I am the signal. All my trades in profit, right? This is where you want to understand what your trades look like, how you're walking in them. And then also, I'm 777. You notice in our chat, we always talk about drop a 777 in the chat. Drop a 777 in the chat. All right, keep dropping it in the chat as you log on. I see you guys. I see you, Orlando. I see you, Cleveland. I see you, Norcross. So as you're logging on this evening, make sure that you drop it in the chat, okay? And also make sure that you walk in those affirmations. I see those 777s. You guys made some significant profit, right? This is what we did. We made profit. We took profit. That means we made those withdrawals from the market. That is what we did. Hello, Jacksonville. How you doing? Now, if this is your first time on a call with us this evening, this is the first time, absolutely, you're on Facebook. So I'm gonna go on my page. You see it live where you see it live. So share it. And then also, if this is your first time on a call with us this evening, let me get a 111 in the chat. Let me get a 111. And if you are still learning how to cash out, ladies and gentlemen, let me get a 222. You still learning how to cash out? Let me get a 222 in the chat. All right. So we want to make sure that we know who's on. So welcome, 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 and welcome back. Welcome and welcome back. I see quite a few of you all on here for the first time this evening. So welcome and welcome back. Now, ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So now, all right, I see you guys. There you go, Atlanta. There you go. Now let's talk about, let's really take this back to the basics, because one, the reason why we do our affirmations is you have to make sure that you're walking in the right mindset before we touch a chart. And that means I'm clear. That means I'm non-emotional. That means that, you know, we truly understand what it is and how we navigate the markets to obtain that real wealth and freedom. And so we want to highlight tonight, I want to take you to the basics. We're going to understand the strategy. We're going to talk about the type of market that we've been in, and we're going to highlight to make sure you understand how to navigate those tools. Now it's basic, so I don't know how far we'll get into the tools tonight, but I definitely want you all to understand the power and the magnitude of what's transpiring and where we are. So now, this what you're looking at, ladies and gentlemen, is the vibrata. Yes, I'm the creator of the BYOB cash out that is actually housed in the vibrata. Now, the BYOB cash out strategy is actually back tested to 92%. You heard me clearly, it's back tested to 92% accuracy rate. Now, we're gonna walk you through that as well, but you have some individuals that are cashing out exceedingly higher. Matter of fact, we had a testimony where we just had someone yesterday that cashed out at 100%, that dropped that in the chat. Now I'm gonna tell you, past profits don't guarantee future success, but I will tell you, you stay plugged in, you stay with your consistency, that you're definitely going to win, and you're gonna be in that position to where you are literally in that profit. But then this tool, right? Our visionary himself, this is Be Your Own Bank, BYOB, Be Your Own Bank. Be Your Own Bank is the largest economic empowerment movement in the history of mankind. That is what this is. And so when you know what you know and you know what we are and you understand the power of the tools, investment banks, the big banks of the world, they utilize tools. And if we're going to utilize tools, who better to be the spokesperson to other than our visionary than someone who's actually worked in investment banking? We're talking about someone that has the experience and the knowledge. And so this tool was taken, it was tested, it was back tested, it was compared to what the banks of the world utilize. And so you actually hear, we're in over 120 countries. And so when any individual logs onto this tool, you actually get to hear from our visionary. But, right, it's best to be plugged in to Be Your Own Bank, where you have a visionary that has the heartbeat for your success. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to play this clip. I'm just going to play this really quickly because we really want you to understand the power and the magnitude of what you have your hands on.
Wow, folks, I'm just absolutely amazed to know that I'm a part of an organization looking to empower and impact lives across the globe. I've been in this space for over 20 years, commercial banking, lending, and when I look at the web analyzer in comparison to what the big banks of the world utilize, that web analyzer is equivalent, far exceeds the expectation that I was anticipating after having that experience on the investment market. So folks, for those of you who don't understand the magnitude of what you have your hands on, I encourage you, I challenge you to take a deeper dive and realize that literally you have in your own hands the power to become your own bank and allow us to be your partner, to empower you economically, financially, and leave a true legacy.
Wow, ladies and gentlemen. So you really understand the power of what we're talking about and the power of why this actually enables you to trade like the banks. So for those of you all who are new to the call, this is your first time here, I want you to understand that we have your best interest at heart. We're here to serve. We're here to help to ensure that you're empowered. That's what this is all about, all right? That's what we're here for. Now, tonight is Tuesday. We have a power-packed evening. And so tonight is about basics. We talking about Be Your Own Bank, BYOB basics. And what you're looking at is actually the inside of a vibrato. You were talking about taking this to the basics, taking this back to just that foundation of understanding how to take a trade and what you're doing. And then now as we navigate through this, because when you visit with us in the mornings, right, when we're live in the market in the mornings, we're showing you how to implement and how to utilize the tools that we're talking about here today. That's literally what we're doing and what we're talking about. So I have a few of them marked up already so you can really understand how to navigate what this does, right? So I just want you guys to really grasp this and understand it. And so this is how we're going to cash out. Now, let me back up before we navigate in this, because we've had every market, okay? We've had every single type of market, and they're still not 100% complete to where it's solidified to one type of market. Now, what those markets are, we've had a geopolitical market, we've had the central bank market, where the market literally with the central bank market, we're talking about your interest rates and, just things of that nature. And then of course, your economic release, where we're talking about employment, retail sales, things that impact the economy. And so those are the things that move the market. Now, the biggest thing with understanding the market, because I don't want anybody questioning their skill set, the biggest thing that I want you to understand with utilizing the market and understanding the market is the simple fact that in a political market, the market has no true direction. And so we've gone to, my swing traders have moved into scalping, and you're looking for those nice trends. You're looking for those things that typically manifest, and that really has not been happening. And so when you understand that and you see where we are, then you understand the true manifestation of how to navigate, how to dive in the market, and what it is that you're looking for. So now let's talk about the BYOB cash out. Now, of course, while we do this, if you have any questions, comments, or testimonies, I want to make sure that you drop it in the chat. Questions, comments, or testimonies, drop it in the chat. We're going to answer your questions tonight, because tonight is basics, okay? Tonight is about basics, okay? And we want to make sure that you completely understand exactly what we're doing. So now let's talk about the BYOB cash out strategy, all right? Now, the BYOB cash out strategy is really simple. We're using 3 simple indicators. Now, what that is first is my stochastic. My stochastic is that leading indicator. And this is what we're looking at right here, okay? This is that stochastic. You have your blue line cross over the red and an upward momentum. Now, this happens around the 20, right? I'm gonna go ahead and drop this down. I want you to stay focused on what I'm looking at. That blue line cross over the red and upward momentum that happens right here. Now, I'm looking for a buy when that happens. And that needs to be around that 20. Now, when that blue line crosses over the red around that 80, I'm looking for a sell. Now, this is actually my leading indicator, okay? The other 2 indicators are lagging. This is leading, this is lagging. Now, when I come up here and I'm looking at these candles, these are Hikinashi candles, okay? That's what makes them lagging. They're Hikinashi candles. Down my Hikinashi candles, I have a green candle with a flat bottom, green candle with a flat bottom, PSR flip to the bottom, right? That's what I'm looking at. That's what I have right there. So now, of course, when I'm looking at a sale, I have a red candle with a flat top, PSR flip to the top. So just so you get an understanding, you have your Japanese candles, this is what they are, and you have to attempt to read them, which is fine, right? We got the training on the YouTube channel, but what I want you to understand is that the Hikinashi candles actually translate for you, okay? The Hikinashi candles translate for you. That is what they do. So now, as I'm sitting here, that PSR flip to the bottom. I'm gonna tell you this now, your stop loss goes below the PSR or it goes above the PSR. Now, the market itself is telling you what the market is doing. The market itself is telling you, where that stop loss goes. I don't have to guess at anything when I'm using this strategy, right? I don't have to guess at anything when I'm navigating this or I'm understanding this. So just understand, I want you to understand it from that perspective. So don't try to overthink it. Don't try to question it. The stop loss goes below the PSR, not on the PSR, below the PSR. Stop loss goes above the PSR, not on the PSR. So let me see if I can find an example, because I really want to show you why that is so important, okay? I mean, even if I'm looking, nah, that's current right now. Let me see if we're gonna have one. It's not all the time. Here's one right here. So you see that PSAR flip to the bottom. Now, what are you seeing that happens in there? This can actually wick down and touch that PSAR. And so you can kind of get some reversal and some action up in here. So you never want that on that, because if I'd have been on this PSAR, then what you would have seen is you would have got, of course, we wouldn't have been in this trade right here because I'm going to walk you through the strategy. But had it been afterwards, then you see that these wicks, they can actually come down. When the market wicks back down, it can actually come and it can touch those PSARs. It can spike up, spike down to where it's actually touching those PSARs. So that's not what you want to do, right? That's not what you want to do. So you don't want to actually have your stop loss in between here, and you don't want it on here. You want it below here. Now, the amount of liquidity that's in the market, those types of things, that will determine, right? That will actually determine how many pips your stop loss is. I had to say that. Now, right now, where do you begin? I had quite a few 111s, you know, quite a few, the stop loss below PSAR. No, just put it below the PSAR. Just put it below this PSAR. Now, how far above or below you put it above or below the PSAR is completely up to you. That is completely up to you. So the question was the stop loss below the PSAR plus the spread. I mean, literally, it's completely up to you. Now, but just don't put it on there. So based on your personal risk management, you can do it here. I mean, you can do it way down here. Once again, it's completely up to you. Now, as I'm looking at this, like I said, we had quite a few 111s on here. And so what that means is, I want you to understand, as I'm looking at this right here, okay? Now, this is a trade that we actually were in this morning, and quite a few of you all cashed out. So from this entry, I'm gonna walk you through the cash out, but from this entry, I want you to see that this actually had the potential from when we finished that last call, you know, about, depending if you wicked up, but if we went to that resistance line right here, almost 90 pips, that's really the magnitude of what we had and what we were able to take. So I'm gonna back up just a little bit to where this trade actually started. So you see we have that blue line cross over the red and upward momentum. We have a green candle with a flat bottom right here and that PSAR flip. Now, one thing that I do want to share with you is when that happens, you're looking at space and opportunity. There's nothing on the side of here, right? And did anything call on this? Because I don't want y'all to miss some money. But you know, when you're looking at this right here, now, if we see a trade while we're on this call, we're going to take the trade. I want you to understand that. We see, I know we're training tonight, but if we see some money, we're going to take it. So you see that this is actually pushing up right here, but that's a continuation. It's kind of been moving sideways. So we're going to leave it alone for just a minute. Now, for those of you all on here, we always start on a 15-minute chart. For those of you all new to trading, now that is because you're able to get into the market, you're able to get out, you're able to do your 10 pips, you're able to cash out, right? That's what you're able to do. As you advance through your skill set, then you can trade it to support and resistance lines. And then of course, as you advance in your skill set, then you are able to understand how to take longer trades. But that gets you in the market, that gets you in profit, right? That's what that does. So does a buy alert always indicate a buy? Absolutely. So I'll kind of walk through that in just a minute to kind of show you a few things right there, but absolutely. But understand, it's an alert, it's not a signal, which means that you still have to analyze it, okay? You still have to analyze it. The market, it has to be analyzed, and you want to understand what the market's doing. And that's where these are actual alerts. So these are actual alerts that has happened throughout the day, okay? So these are actual alerts that actually have transpired. So that's where these are marked up at. So these actually came from here. Of course, I'm not going to be able to go back and grab all of them, but they came from here. Now, and that's why I'm on this currency pair. So you guys can understand the magnitude and the power of this tool. You're very welcome. So now when you see this moving up, you see that blue line cross over the red. I have that green candle with a flat bottom. I have the PSAR flip to the bottom. Now, and then also, like you see right here, you have the blue line cross over the red and the downward momentum. I have a red candle with a flat top. I have a PSAR flip to the top. So this is where you're looking at. Now you see this didn't sell, but at that time you would not have known that, okay? because this is what you would have seen. This is what you would have been looking at. So I just want you to understand you would not have known that. So now what we're going to do is time frame confluence. We have to do our time frame confluence. So with my time frame confluence, I want to drop down to the 5 minute. When we go to the 5 minute, it needs to still be selling. Ladies and gentlemen, it needs to still be selling. That is so important. Now, why is that? Because my higher time frame tells me what the market's doing. My higher time frames give me direction in the market. My lower time frames are all the activity. All right, if that helps bring clarity to it. Now you see that this is buying. I come over here, you see that we're buying right here. And where'd that sale go? I didn't go over far enough. So right here, it needs to still be selling. So each still buying, still buying, still buying, is still selling at this point, right? Now I need to go to my hour. My hour is my time frame confluence, right? My hour is my time frame confluence. So when you're looking at my hour being my time frame confluence, now if I'm looking at this from this perspective, you can see that we've been in that upward momentum, okay? We've been in an upward momentum. Now when I'm looking at this, okay, as I see this, then you can see that this is in a buy, okay? That's in a buy. Now, it does not have to be set up like you were not trading on a higher time frame. If you're trading on a higher time frame, then yes, it does have to be. If I'm on the higher time frame, then absolutely it does have to be. That's so very important, all right? I really want you to understand that. But if I'm trading on the lower time frames, okay, if I'm on the lower time frames, that's where the setup is. On the higher time frames, what you're looking at is for it to look like, right? Look like the same way you sit and you wait on a trade, it has to look like a trade I would take. So right here, right, this looks like I'm waiting on the setup. It looks like I have the blue line crossing over the red on my stochastic. I have my green candle. I don't have a PSR, so it looks like it's setting up. Oh, same thing over here. It's continuing, right? Because this was a continuation trade that was called from over here. So this looks like it's setting up. This one, same thing. We look like we're gearing up, we're setting up. So this has been continuous in that buy. Now, for that sale, this does not look like I would even consider a sale, right? It doesn't look like that at all. So when you see that, I'm looking at this, I have green candles. Let's start there, green candles. And then you look at my stochastic is still in a buy. It's still moving up. So when you think about that and you understand that, then the reality is I'm not taking that trade. So the BYOB cash out strategy helps you understand when to get into a trade and when not to take a trade, right? When to get into a trade and when not to take a trade. And then also, when you saw this one earlier, let's drop back down because this was one that we were looking at earlier. When you saw this one earlier, this is where this moved to. And so where can you trade that to? I can trade it to my support and resistance lines, right? I could trade it. Actually, I start with 10 pips and cash out. Then you develop your skill set. And as you develop your skill set, we trade to support and resistance lines. And so just from understanding, let me go ahead and mark this up for you. I want to drop some support and resistance lines on here. And of course, you can kind of see those lines in the market. Now, just for understanding and a clarity standpoint, let me drop some more on here. Okay. I definitely want to make sure you see you got one up here. That's why we didn't jump in a trade or anything like that from a continuation standpoint. Now you see that's where the market touches. Now for those of you all, let me help you with something. Let's change this to a line chart. When you change to a line chart, what you're looking at is closing price. So you know you think you want to look at the closing price. And so what you can see is you see all these touches, right? I see these touches, I see these touches, I see these touches, I see these touches here, right? You can see where all these touches happen, all these touches, all these taps and touches, that's the actual closing price, right? That's the actual closing price. And then of course, I want to go back to my Hikanashi candles, and now it kind of makes it a little bit clear where you're in the market, right? You have a lot of clarity on what it is that you're looking for, and you can actually see that right there. So questions, comments, testimonies on just the strategy itself. And then we'll go just a little bit deeper. Questions, comments, testimonies, drop it in the chat, Questions, comments, testimonies. I want to make sure everyone is with me this evening. Want to make sure you're with me this evening. All right. Well, absolutely, but we'll get to the stocks. I'll pull those up as well. So we'll get to that as well. All right, and I'll share that with you too. You one step. You mean the stochastic? Oh, I thought you meant the stocks. I was like, you one step ahead of me because we did take some stocks this morning. We traded some stocks this morning, and so I was like, oh, you got me getting excited. And I know we rolled out on Tesla and Amazon, right? So definitely. But does the stochastic have to match up for confluence as well? So now the stochastic, absolutely. So think about this. When we were just here on this hour chart, this is just on. Why do we use the Hikinashi candle? Because that's the BYOB cash out strategy that I created. It's a God breathed strategy. And so it's actually back tested at 92% accuracy rate on every single currency pair, commodities, and everything else. And so when we did this, we tested it on everything for an entire year. 92% was the lowest accuracy. So just tell the Lord thank you. Don't question it. Tell the Lord thank you and go learn how to trade it. Right? That's what we want to do. So so right here, you see that on this hour when you're asking that question. So haha, there you go. Thank you, Lord, because it's all him. So now when you see this, you see this candle. Now we were looking at a sale. And so the question is does the stochastic have to match up for the confluence? Now, if I'm looking for a sale, let's just say this candle was red because we've seen that. All right, let's just say that it was. Now, even for example, this would be a good example right here. This candle is red. You see this has been moving up, but this candle bounced off of the resistance line. It bounced off of there. And what do you see? I don't have this. This is in that upward momentum. My stochastic is definitely in a upward momentum right here. And so with the stochastic being in the upward momentum, my price and my oscillator are not in confluence. My price and my oscillator are not in confluence. So I would not want to take that trade for a sale. So I wouldn't do it. And so that should answer that question. And if I want to go to the higher time frames, just go higher and lower. So you're talking about your time frame confluence. It's always a factor of 4, 5, or 6. So if I'm on an hour, I need to go to the 4 hour and the 15. And so we're kind of gonna. I don't have the harmonic scanner pulled up, but I actually do have the bounce back because we did take one of those, and I know we've definitely been looking at that, but we have not been. We've done the harmonic scanner over and over, and we actually looked at some bounce backs trades as well, just one really this morning, and we bring it back over here. So I definitely have that pulled up as well. So now, yes, now you definitely want to wait for the retest. So like on these, as we were moving up on these buys, so if on these, as we're looking up on these buys, you definitely know that it has to break, right? It has to break that support resistance line. It's not going to always pull back the way that you're looking for, but it breaks that support resistance line. Now, when you're looking at the stochastic, for example, you know that this trade started back here, but you notice that it actually is not coming back down on this one. It's not coming back down to the 20. When I come up to my hour time frame and I look at that, you can see where it actually started down here too. So this is where, like, if you're a 111, you're probably not gonna jump into these trades until you advance your skill set a little bit. And that's what I love about it, because no matter who you are, what your skill set is, whether you just got started yesterday or you've been trading for a year, we even have individuals with us that have been trading for 15 years. And just to be able to come in and utilize the tools, have access to all of that, advance the skill set, taking advantage of that. Because I mean, if banks use tools, why don't we, right? So you always want to be able to utilize that and take advantage of that. So no matter what, you have the ability to do that, and also be using the BYOB cash out strategy, because as you can see, that, I mean, I can trade on an hour. Our harmonic scan trades in the morning or on an hour time frame. Those are the ones we pull on Thursday. We'll be going over that a little bit deeper, as I promised you guys, as a follow-up from last Thursday. And then of course, now we're here on the 15 for this one. So that should answer that question, hopefully. Now, I do want to come back. I do want to go back. Well, it just depends. Now, remember, it's an art, it's not a science. It's an art, it's not a science. If it's a clear indication, you know, if it's a clear indication that this trade is moving and it breaks it, then absolutely I'm going to take it. I mean, you see, like, I'm not going to get into this one right now because this one is, it has, you see, this has, it's the little zone that's around it, okay? So you can kind of see it's never a definitive line in the market. So there's always a zone around the support and resistance lines. I want you guys to remember that and understand that. It's always a zone, but as you can see, it's still pushing forward, okay? As you can see, we have GBP, well, look, it went for a buy and it went for a sell. But we have GBP, we haven't got a call on the GBP USD to really catch the momentum. But if I'm checking that higher time frame, you can see that it's significant, we're getting that overbought territory here, and we're getting in that overbought territory here. So now, but it's still going to depend on the strength of the currency. GBP is my base currency, USD is my counter currency. GBP is my base currency, USD is my counter currency. So whichever one is the strongest, if USD is stronger, then the market's going to be selling because it's the base currency. If GBP is stronger, then the market's buying. So you see, we've hit some resistance. So for the, look at these last 4-hour candles, it has not pushed up there through there. So if we come back and we actually look at the market structure of where the market is, you can see that that's pretty much been where it went. I'm all the way back in August right here, where of course you see this peak up here, but when is the last time the market has really been this high? And so when it rejected here back in December of last year. So the market has not gone higher than this. And so you want to kind of look at the market structure and understand what's going on. So even though where we are right now, you definitely always want to be able to look to your left because it repeats itself. You look to your left. So it's not, that's why I say it's an art, it's not a science. So as I'm looking at this, you can see that where the market pulls back to, where you see this, it peaked up, but it turned back around and came back. So you always want to look left, and it gives you indication of what's going to happen, you know, and where it's going or what's going to happen. All right. That's always a great indication of that. And so then if I come over here and I'm looking at this right here, I definitely want to pull up this US 30 before I get to the, pull up the US 30 before I get to what you know, of course, is the Dow Jones, before I get to where we were and talking about that bounce back trade. And of course, if you got questions, drop it in the chat, continue to drop it in the chat. Now, and I want to highlight this for a reason, because the market, we talked about the type of markets that we were in, and look, it's still calling for a sell about an hour ago. But you see, we're talking about the markets that we're in, right? We're talking about the type of market. So of course, right now we're looking at the Dow Jones. And as I'm looking at the Dow Jones, one of the things that I really want you guys to see and understand is that this was that news spike. This was with Pfizer. So anytime we have a news spike, the market is going to correct itself. Now, on the call that morning, I told you to monitor it, pay attention. You want to see, because this was almost 1,500 points. It was almost, it wasn't a quite 15, but it was almost 1,500 points, like immediately, right away, within a 15-minute time frame, the market shot up. But then, of course, it turns around and it comes back down. Now, you see, we're continuing to buy a little bit, but you see that the market pulled back down to where it was, okay? And the market pulled back down to where it kind of fits on that trend line. Now, one of the reasons why I wanted you to watch it, okay, one of the reasons why I wanted you to watch it, now, of course, we got indication of a sell right here, which pretty much means it's probably going to come back on this trend line. I want to kind of highlight and talk to you about trend lines. Of course, it's US 30, so of course, it's going to always be trying to buy and going overall, unless, you know, well, we had something like COVID, you know, just from that perspective. But as I'm looking at this, this was that, this is where the market shot up. Now it came back down and it pulls back down, and you can see where it pulled back down to that trend line. The market corrected itself and it pulled back down. Now, this was, if you took advantage of this, okay, if you took advantage of that sale, that was 700 points, right? At a minimum, that's $700. If you was able to catch this ride up, You know, we're talking about 1400. Yes, exactly. And so I just want you to understand it. But this is always going to help get you in the perspective of what the market is doing, because it scans the market for those high vibrations, right? When it scans the market for those vibrations, it's going to put you in that position to where you're in profit. I don't want you just randomly scalping and randomly jumping in the market just to do it. I want you to understand what you're doing and why you're doing it. And so when the market shot up, the market corrects and it pulls itself back down. Now, when it pulls itself back down and it corrects itself, the only reason I was telling you yesterday morning that on our 9 o'clock call, the only reason I was sharing it with you to watch it and to see, because US 30 Dow Jones is so impacted, your indices, commodities, right? They're so impacted by what's happening. They're so impacted by the fundamentals of the market. So I didn't want you to just make the assumption that it was going to just automatically come back down. But when it did come back down, notice this: blue line cross over the red and a downward momentum. Red candle with a flat top, PSR flip to the top, right? So this is still the BYOB cash out strategy. It's still in alignment. And where do we take profit? Now, of course, we took profit at support resistance lines. And this is definitely sitting on one of those. Now, what you're looking at right here is I'm looking at the simple fact that, you know, this called for a sell about an hour ago. And so that was right here. So that trigger was valid. That trigger was accurate. And so, and of course, I'm gonna put this on here. Because it was during this time frame, drop down to the 5 minute because it came from a scalping perspective. And if you actually would have taken it, you can see where it was a continuation, had come out of a correction, and you can see where it's still kind of pushed down. So that if you're a scalper, then that's that. If you're not, then of course you can see the higher time frame. And of course, that was 44 points, 45 points that it actually dropped. So I know on the higher time frame, it doesn't look like much, but when you drop down and you get into where we are, this actually dropped and it pulled down. And I mean, when you see 5 minute, I mean, we're talking about 10 points. But if you would have got down to where they said, let me put our pivots on here so you can understand where we are in the market. Put our pivots on here because I know you guys are like, I love the pivots now. And so let me check the higher time frame. And we're not on that pivot line. We just hit right there. But just understanding, you still want to always know where you are with these pivots, where you are in the market, because we're in between this R1 and R2, that resistance line 1, resistance line 2. But you definitely can see that 44, I mean, that was a minimum of $44 because it's a points, right? Because it's points. So just really wanting to help you understand that, where you can jump in the market, and that's at a minimum, because that's going to depend on your lot size. Now, I don't, you know, questions, comments, testimonies, and I'm going to jump over here to understanding this, you know, when we take these bounce back trades, and it's still showing you the basics of the BYOB cash out strategy. But I definitely want to highlight questions, comments, testimonies, questions, comments, testimonies, questions, comments, testimonies. Drop it in the chat. Don't wait for me to pause. Drop it in there, because I know we're covering a lot, but I want to make sure that you understand the type of market we're in. I want to make sure that you all understand the basic fundamentals of how to take the trades, right? I want to make sure you're grasping that along with how to utilize the tools. Now, right here, okay, what do we have? We have the bounce back. Now, we've been talking about trend lines, and the reason this came up this morning is because someone literally said, I love the trends. And then of course, when that comment came into the chat, we had quite a few of you all that began to talk about how much you love the trends. So for those of you all who love the trends, I want to show you how to implement and how to utilize those other tools. And of course, bring that back over here. So now, should you be scanning the market and validate every alert? Absolutely. Now, let me help you understand signals, because we don't do signals. All right, don't do signals at all. If you get a signal from the coin, if you get a swipe alert, if you get any of that, then I want you still need to bring it back and understand it. A signal comes from your job. You're here to generate wealth. You're here to, and I'm saying this because I want you to understand it. You're here to generate wealth. You're here to become wealthy. You're here to understand a different skill set. You never want to be sitting back waiting on someone else to dictate your value or what you can pull from the market. Now, if that's the case, then we can just stay on a traditional 9 to 5, because you're still at the grace and mercy of someone else. So we made a decision that we are not a signals. We don't do signals. And so these alerts are also not, I've had many people ask me for signals. I'm not doing it. We're going to financially educate and impact you. We're going to financially educate and empower you. These alerts are not signals. They are vibrations that scan the market. So you are not having to scan every currency pair, everyone looking for a trade. It scans the market and it gives you a high probability trade. But just like when we just saw with that GBP pair, that we were at the top. We had been riding it all day. We got to the top of it, but now we're at the top of where the market was going. So if you blindly take a buy, then it's not going to work out in your favor. And so you want to analyze the trade. You want to do that because so many individuals, are cashing out, and their accuracy rate is higher than 92%. So many individuals, so many testimonies, and they're able to utilize this, and they're able to navigate these tools, navigate the market, and that's what they're able to do. And they're very, very, very successful at it. And so just really want to highlight it from that perspective. And then I got a yep and some amens. So and I know that's coming from individuals that are plugged in and they're on these calls, and they were mastering this skill set, and they have goals and aspirations of this is what I want to do, and I want to live life on my terms. And so when you do that, you'll be able to live life on your terms. If I'm giving you a signal, you can't live life on your terms. You're waiting on somebody else to empower you the same way you do at your job. So let's talk about this really quickly. If I'm sitting here, this is the bounce back. Now, I know, and the reason why I pulled this up is because you have to go through IM.Center. All right, you have to go through that. And when you come through IM.Center, right here, you get, look, they just had some other ones, but I want to stay focused on the two. Like this called for a sell, then it called for a buy. And because of the market that we've had, and because of that, you especially to go back to scanning a market to validate the alerts, because of the type of markets we had every single market. I mean, every single type of market that you can have just last week. And the election is not officially over yet. And so we're still in a political market. Bank rates and things are still coming out. That's what moves the market. Those are the things that are going to give you those nice trending markets. And then you turn around, but the political markets give you a nice sideways market that's just not in a direction. It has no clear direction. So you want to make sure that you're empowered. And if you look in that chat, you see 777, 777, 777 in the chat. Now, we're not taking the trades over here. We're not taking trades over here. You just look at this, and then you want to bring this back to the vibrata. You bring everything back to the vibrata where the accuracy is. And we've even seen where we've had the harmonic scanner that we pulled, and you come back and then you start getting the triggered alerts that actually help you still continue to take those trades. Now, as I'm looking at this, this is that last one that manifested, right? This is that last one that happened. And it was called on a 15-minute chart. So I'm gonna take some time on this one to really help you understand it. So you see that this had been in a downtrend. And then I got the question about it retesting. I got the question about it coming back. So you see it's at a downtrend. Now, for those of you on here, you're new to trading with us, do not judge my trend lines, okay? Do not judge my trend lines. I'm just gonna put that out there up front, okay? Everybody has their thing, and I have to give you guys that disclaimer. So understand that this trend line, right, it breaks it. So that bounce back it looks for the trend. So for those of you all who like the trends, that's the tool. That's the one that you're using. And so as you can see that if you bring it back here, and you can see that where we called it at, which is this one. I'm gonna just change the color so we stay right here. You see, this is the one where it was called at this price and at this time. So it was called at this price at this time. So you know that when it broke this trend, this is where it triggered. It came back for the retest. See who asked me about the retest? It came back for the retest. Now, is there a correct is there a correct way to draw a trend line? Touches. The same way like support and resistance line, touches. So, you know, and so what you're looking at, so you definitely want those touches, all right? So now, when we look right here and you see it retested, it came back down. It didn't fully come all the way back down to the thing, to our trend line, but then it turned around. Now look at what we have. You have the blue line cross over the red and the upward momentum. You have a green candle with a flat bottom. You have the PSR flip. Now, when you're looking at that, you know, when you're looking at that, right, simple enough, absolutely. When you're looking at that, when you're taking a trade from there, you're gonna get about 20 or 30 pips, okay? You're gonna be able to pull about 20 or 30 pips out of that. And so pulling about, how many did this go up? 29, right? So right up in there. And then of course you wanna understand where your support and resistance lines are, okay? I wanna understand where they are, and you can see that this is where they are, all right? So this is where they are. And so, and you see that this has definitely been trading in a range. So earlier when it called for a sell, it broke this one, and this is that sell activity. Then it turned around and called it for a buy. You analyze it and you bring it back up, and you can see that it had been trading in that range, okay? And you've been able to ride that continuously throughout that. So if I come back and I look at this one and I bring this back over here, I know I saw USD CAD up in here as well. USD CAD, there it is, right? So you see how it was continuing, and I know it's further down as well. So, and for the sake of time, I'm just gonna go ahead and help right here, you know, bring this home. So not only did we pull it from the bounce back, bring it back to the vibrato, I just showed you one of the alerts where the vibrato called this for a sell. And then of course, it's another one that's in there as well. So what happens is that blue line cross over the red and a downward momentum around that 80. I have a red candle with a flat top. I have a PSR flip to the top. And of course, now let's go look at my time frame confluence. I need to drop down to the 5 minute. It needs to still be selling. I go up to the hour. It needs to look like it's setting up and gearing up for a sell, and absolutely it was. So that trade in itself, I get to take that trade to get my 10 pips and cash out, or I can take my trade to that support line, okay? To that support line. And so now you've seen a few examples of how to take those trades. See, that one went for 20 pips, 21 pips, but you want to take it to that support resistance line, and that's where we are right there. So questions, comments, testimonies, questions, comments, testimonies, questions, comments, testimonies. Well, the time went by fast tonight. Questions, comments, testimonies. I want to make sure that, you know, we get all of you guys questions answered. Definitely want to be able to do that. All right, now what are the times that you trade? Anytime the market is open. So for example, it's not about certain times that the market is available. It's about taking a trade when it's available and making sure that it aligns up. So anytime that the market is available, the market's gonna tell you when you can take a trade. I can tell you that you get up and we'll have 10 trades at 5 a.m. If the market's not wanting 10 trades at 5 a.m., then you know this, then you don't get 10 trades at 5 a.m. So you can take trades when the market is available. Now, typically what I will tell you, yeah, like right now, exactly. What I will tell you is that the London session has a lot of liquidity in the market. And that's why a lot of people like to get up for that London session, because of the liquidity in the market. But the market's going to dictate and determine and tell you. Now, what I can show you is, for example, this was the weekend, okay? So over the weekend, you can definitely see now it's been moving sideways, but it was rising. This is Bitcoin, for example, and everything that you trade is traded the same way. And it was rising. We hit our mark. We talked about Bitcoin hitting that $16,000 mark. and we were analyzing it. And of course, I can come here and I can look at Bitcoin and all these other cryptocurrencies that pull within here. But this was over. Yes, it is very lovely. It was very lovely. And so it is also impacted by we remember we've been in a political market. So when the announcement came out about the election, it dropped. And so we were able to ride this beautiful drop right here. So the beauty is, no matter what the market is doing, if it's buying, if it's selling, if it's buying, if it's selling, you're able to take a trade. And as you can see, blue line cross over the red and a downward momentum. So even with the news, it still aligns with the strategy. And then that goes back to that question, why the Hikanashi candles? Even with the news, they're trend candles, okay? So even with the news, it still aligns. Red candle with a flat top, PR flips to the top. And all of this lined up as well. Like right here, you see we just got an alert for Bitcoin for 1 minute. 1 minute ago, we got Bitcoin for a sale. And as you can see, this is lining up. But then, of course, it started moving sideways because of because it's like it rested, kind of what the US 30 did. It's like once that happened, it kind of started moving sideways. And now we just got that call on a 5 minute now. And I want to give you one more thing before we have to close out. Now, this is where it triggered right up in here. Now, if I come check my 30 minute, now my 30 minute is in a sale. You understand why it just triggered. And so when I look at it and I scan down, now on the hour, I look like I'm going sideways. But you need to understand that it's been in this range, okay? This is going to help you. The higher time frame tells me what the market's doing. The lower time frames actually help. The higher time frame tell me where the market's going. The big picture, the lower time frame. So if I'm looking at this and I see that this is in a sale right here, my 5 minute time frame is triggering for a sale. I'm still within my pivot line, within my support and resistance line. Check my 1 minute because that's confluence. Wait on that correction on a lower time frame, then you take your sell. So it just triggered. And now you can understand how you take your sell. And then the other thing I want to highlight, I love about these pivots that we put on here is, look at this. All right, look at this. So when the market was tight, look how tight my pivots were. When the market was tight, look how tight my pivots were. And now that the market is expanding some, I want you to see, when you get more liquidity, going back to your question about the times to trade. So when you utilize the tools and you understand it all, then look at this. Look how wide these pivots have gotten. And so the thing I like about these pivots is the fact that I see the pivots that were there the day before. I see the pivots that were there. So I understand that there was not a lot of liquidity in the market. Look at how tight this is and how much this didn't move. There was not a lot of liquidity in the market. So now look at how it's expanded. So there's more liquidity in the market. Did we just cash out on that GBP? Did she just say 777 in the chat? I told you guys, I told you. So if you see the money, take it. You see the money, take it. So on a training call, we just made some money. So I love it. I love it. I love it. We train it, we analyze it, and she took it. The pivots are not, there's on support and resistance lines. Support and resistance is a value, but they're calculated on what the market's been doing. So a pivot point is calculated on what the market's been doing. A support and resistance line is an area of value. Like you see that my pivot line right here is a pivot point. This is that center point. My R1 is the first major resistance line. However, if I look at yesterday where I had an R2, isn't that my support and resistance line right here? Isn't that what that is? So you just you see what I mean? Right up in here. So they're on support and resistance lines. So that's when I tell you your support and resistance lines are your lifeline. And so we're talking about support and resistance lines, your trends, and your moving average, right? The moving, and that's actually in here. So just to kind of put that in perspective for you. So it's still on a support and resistance line. It's just not my first major resistance. It's not my major resistance line for today, but they're still on support and resistance lines. So this is how we take it. And then doesn't that look like it's gearing up? Now it's going to depend. It looked like it's gearing up for a double top. That's what it looked like. But hey, it might It just all depends if we're coming back down here sooner or later. So, but that's it. It's a fact. Yes, absolutely. Now it's going to help you. So we've done some training on the pivots on here and they're actually on the YouTube channel. And so, but we've done training on those, and you definitely will be able to see, because it's calculated on the market determines where the pivot points are. If I can just really give you a quick answer. You know, the market determines where the pivot points are based on what the market's been doing. And so instead of us having to try to figure it out, when I look right here at the pivot point, this pivot point is the center point of the market. It's, you know, just really in a nutshell, it's that. And so this is that first major support. This is that first major resistance. And then of course, if I start getting to like past that R3 or that S3, you know, we're already looking like we're in overbought territory. However, and so we look at yesterday, this was wider on the 15-minute chart, and now down here is tighter on the 15-minute chart. So it really helps you understand the liquidity and everything else. Do you go to YouTube? Absolutely. Absolutely. Let me drop that in the chat for you really quickly. Drop it in the chat. There you have it. So, and also, so before we're about to transition this call, do not go anywhere. Do not go anywhere. But I want to make sure I get your questions answered. Questions, comments, testimonies. You're welcome. And make sure you're in the Telegram chat too. Questions, comments, testimonies. Questions, comments, testimonies. Well, all right. So thank you. I appreciate that. So what I want to do is I want to make sure first of all, if there's a veteran on this call, right? If there's a veteran on this call, let me first tell you happy Veterans Day, because we will not have a call in the morning. We will not have calls in the morning. Tomorrow is a US holiday. Now, I want to just highlight something. The US currency pair is the major currency pair. It's in every major currency pair. So, and it's also calculated, the crosses are also calculated using that. So whenever we have a US holiday, the market slows down. Now, of course, I know some of you guys will be still dropping your 777s in the chat, but thank you for dropping that in the chat. But I definitely want you all to understand that tomorrow's a US holiday, so we will not have a call. So yes, I want to thank all your veterans, all the veterans on the call. I want to thank you for your service. We salute you. Freedom isn't free, right? We understand that. So definitely want to salute you as well. And then also make sure you buy your book. So many of you all have already gotten your book. Thank you. Thank you for the Veterans Day wishes. So many of you all have already gotten your books, and understanding that you've actually gotten your books, you've started reading them, and we got a lot of positive feedback on them. So make sure you order yourself a book, which is at BeYourOwnBankMovement.com. Hey, you got your book. Fantastic. I love it. And that's at BeYourOwnBankMovement.com. Now, for book, it's called Be Your Own Bank Hidden in Plain Sight. That's the name of the book. And you can actually go on that website, BeYourOwnBankMovement.com, and you can actually order yours as well. So this is the website, BeYourOwnBankMovement.com. It's in the chat. Now, also, that other question, what time is the calls? Thank you, Ms. Brownlee. So the calls are Monday through Thursday at 5 a.m. and 9 a.m. Monday through Thursday at 5 a.m. and 9 a.m. And then here on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we're here in the evening for BYOB Market Talks, followed by a talk with the finance doctor. And so in the evenings, we're doing the education. Tonight was about the basics. We always want to bring you back to the basics on Tuesday to help you understand how to navigate the markets, read the charts. And on Thursday is geared toward the tools. I know we talked about some tools tonight, but that's because of the type of market conditions that we have. And I want to make sure you guys are walking that and actually in profit. So Tuesdays is the basics, understanding the strategy, being able to take the trades. Thursday is utilizing the tools that are offered. And then of course in the morning, we put it in action. We get into the market, show you how to utilize what you've learned in the evenings. So everyone that's plugged in is actually winning. As you can see, during the training call, we got some 777 in the chat. So that means she took profit. But right now, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to transition this call. No call tomorrow.